Have you ever checked your bank account, confirmed you still had money, and still felt financially anxious? You hesitate before buying groceries, feel guilty ordering a coffee, and postpone things you genuinely need. Yet when you look at the numbers, there is no actual emergency. There is only a persistent feeling of scarcity that does not match what the screen is telling you. That feeling is becoming increasingly common. Rising prices, constant financial headlines, and years of economic uncertainty have fundamentally changed the way many people relate to money. Millions of people do not simply experience financial hardship. They experience the feeling of financial hardship even when the actual numbers do not support it. Budgeting is not only about managing your money, it is also about managing your perception of money. And once you understand why your brain signals there is never enough, you can build a system that creates confidence instead of anxiety. Welcome back to Finance Insight in High Def, where we break down the financial principles, habits, and psychological shifts that help ordinary people build extraordinary financial futures. If you are new here, consider a like and subscribe as we dive into the 8 principles on how to budget when you feel broke, even when the numbers say otherwise. Principle 1. The psychological gap between feeling broke and actually being broke. The first principle is understanding that being broke and feeling broke are two entirely different conditions. Someone earning $50,000 may feel completely financially secure. Someone earning $200,000 may feel perpetually behind. The reason is that the brain does not evaluate wealth objectively. It evaluates safety. When you do not have a clear picture of where your money is going, your brain defaults to assuming the worst, and uncertainty produces the feeling of scarcity, even when the bank balance does not justify it. Financially anxious people are often not low earners. They are unclear earners who have money but no system. The solution is creating financial clarity because confidence does not come from having more money. It comes from knowing precisely what is happening with the money you already have. Principle 2. The single account problem that makes every purchase feel dangerous. The second principle addresses one of the most common structural mistakes in personal budgeting: keeping every category of money in one account and treating the total balance as a single pool of available funds. When rent, utility bills, grocery money, savings, emergency funds, and discretionary spending all sit in the same account, every purchase becomes a judgment call with incomplete information. You do not know if spending $20 right now will leave you short on a bill due in 10 days, so your brain treats every transaction as potentially dangerous. The result is constant low-grade financial anxiety that has nothing to do with how much money you actually have. The structural fix is separating money by purpose. One account receives income and pays bills. A second holds everyday discretionary spending. A third accumulates savings. And a fourth maintains the emergency fund. When you open the account designated for daily spending, the balance tells you exactly what is available with nothing else to protect. The anxiety evaporates not because you have more money, but because the question of whether you can afford something has already been answered. Principle 3. The dollar assignment that replaces uncertainty with a clear plan. The third principle is giving every dollar a defined responsibility before it has the chance to sit undefined. Unassigned money is anxious money. When a paycheck lands and no allocation happens, the brain asks uncomfortable questions. Can I spend this? Should I save it? What if something unexpected happens? The absence of a plan does not create peace. It creates a constant background hum of financial unease where every potential purchase carries a question mark. When every dollar is assigned at the moment it arrives, covering housing, food, transportation, insurance, savings, investments, and a defined amount for personal spending, the question of whether any given purchase is acceptable has already been answered. Budgeting in this framework is not about restricting money. It is about giving money direction. A dollar with a defined purpose stops generating anxiety because the plan already accounts for the most likely scenarios. Principle 4. The social comparison trap that quietly destroys financial confidence. The fourth principle addresses a source of financial anxiety no budget line item can fix: comparing your financial progress against the visible financial lives of other people. Social media presents a curated version of financial life. You see luxury vacations, new vehicles, and expensive restaurant experiences. But you do not see the credit card statements behind the vacation, the financing agreements, or the financial stress occurring between the highlight posts. You are measuring your actual financial reality against someone else's carefully selected presentation of theirs, and that comparison is designed to make you feel inadequate. The shift that eliminates this as a source of anxiety is replacing external comparison with internal benchmarking. The only financially relevant question is whether you are making progress toward your own goals. Are your savings higher than 6 months ago? Is your debt lower? Are you investing more consistently? Financial success is not a competition against strangers. It is a process of moving your own situation in the direction you want it to go. Principle 5. The weekly spending limit that ends the daily mental cost of every purchase. The fifth principle eliminates one of the most exhausting aspects of financial anxiety, the need to mentally evaluate every individual purchase. Most people with financial anxiety think about money every single day, requiring a separate mental calculation for every transaction. A weekly spending allowance replaces that ongoing mental process with a single calculation made once per week. After fixed bills are covered and savings contributions are made, whatever remains becomes the week's defined budget. The specific dollar amount matters less than the certainty it creates. Every individual purchase is now evaluated against a known weekly figure rather than against the undefined total of a mixed account. And the question of whether any given purchase is acceptable is no longer asked in the moment because the weekly allowance already answered it. Principle 6. The cash flow focus that builds real stability. Without needing to feel wealthy, the sixth principle shifts financial attention from how much money you have to how money moves. Many financially anxious people obsess over their total balance, checking it repeatedly and feeling worse when the number is not as large as they believe it should be. But a balance figure in isolation tells you almost nothing useful. What matters is whether money is consistently flowing in the right direction. When income exceeds expenses month over month, bills are paid, savings increase, and debt decreases. A person with modest income and healthy cash flow is in a stronger financial position than a high earner whose spending consistently equals what comes in, and watching the direction money is moving rather than fixating on the current total is the shift that transforms how most people experience their finances. Principle 7, the celebration system that trains your brain to repeat financial success. The seventh principle is the behavioral reinforcement practice most financial systems completely ignore, deliberately celebrating small financial wins. Most people notice financial mistakes immediately and criticize themselves for overspending, but almost never pause to acknowledge what went right. That asymmetry is not just emotionally damaging, it is behaviorally counterproductive because the brain reinforces behaviors it receives positive feedback for and withdraws from behaviors associated only with criticism. Paying off a credit card balance deserves acknowledgement. Adding $50 to savings when it would have been easier not to deserves recognition. Staying within the weekly spending allowance and completing a month inside the budget. All of these represent real financial discipline and deserve deliberate positive attention. When your brain begins associating financial discipline with a positive emotional response rather than only with restriction and self-judgment, the behavior becomes easier to repeat. Principle 8, the financial system that creates peace without requiring a higher income. The final principle dismantles the belief that financial anxiety is simply a problem of not earning enough and explains why the solution is organizational rather than income dependent. Many people believe that earning more will eliminate financial stress. A raise arrives and initially it does help, but within months the lifestyle expands to match the new income. Expenses rise accordingly and the anxiety returns at a higher number. This pattern repeats across income levels because the underlying issue was never the amount. It was the absence of a system. People earning modest incomes with a clear financial system often experience less financial anxiety than high earners with no organizational structure, because clarity from knowing what every dollar is doing creates a sense of control that no income level alone can provide. When the system works, confidence grows and the anxious feeling that there is never enough begins to fade. Not because more money arrived, but because the money that was already there finally has a clear place to go. Like the video, subscribe to Finance Insight in high def, and let us know in the comments what has made you feel financially anxious even when your account had money. See you in the next video.